Back for round 2, the Vivo X80 Pro has no doubts about its potential as it has shown us good results in the other big comparison. To get more into detail, we're going back to our roots and switching to a two-phone comparison for this video, with the second phone being the iPhone 13 Pro Max. We'll be discussing and comparing these phones in 11 different categories, all regarding the cameras, as well as giving you plenty of fun and exciting footage to enjoy. Feel free to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you enjoy mobile phone and camera comparisons, and definitely leave a comment telling us which phone you prefer. Let the facts speak. I really do believe that one of the strong points of Vivo's newest flagship is photos that are taken with the rear camera. Luckily for them, this is also one of, if not the most important feature of smartphone cameras. More than half the time, you're gonna be using the main camera to take pictures of your friends or your surroundings. The Vivo X80 Pro looks to be a great phone to do this, as it's obvious that it doesn't have any visible weaknesses when compared to one of the best camera phones out there, the iPhone 13 Pro Max. As it is commonly seen, Apple's software is often a bit better than most brands when it comes to catching details that are lurking in the shadows or hanging out in darker areas. Still, this gives it a minor advantage, and considering I've not much to complain or criticize about the quality of the X80, including the performance of the ultra-wide camera, I can easily say that this category is a tie. It's also kind of the start I wanted, because I really do want to see the improvement of the camera quality of lesser known brands when compared to giants like Samsung, Google, and Apple. There's a point where software becomes even more involved than it is in regular photos though, and that's gonna be portrait mode. I've said it time and time again, the main point is always gonna be edge detection. Sure, some phones sometimes do weird things with their white balance when taking portrait photos, but the parts that look the best or the worst tend to be based on how well the algorithm is able to separate the subject from whatever else there is in the frame. We've already had good experiences with the portrait mode of the X80 Pro, and everyone knows iPhones are also up there at the top of the list. The bokeh is adjustable on the side of the Vivo, and we opted to choose the middle point because that was the closest to a software automated setting. I would say one of the main differences is something that we also saw in the photo category, which is Vivo's dark being darker than Apple. Over there, it didn't matter too much because the whole of the photo was still in good shape. But here, where the majority of the focus is on the subject, I personally like the portrait photos from the iPhone more. On a positive point, both generally were able to draw the lines around the outline of my body accurately, minus a few mistakes here and there. The iPhone will take this category as more often than not, their color reproduction and adequate brightness helps them overtake the competition. Sad to say, these differences are amplified when taking video, which personally I didn't expect at the beginning. I mean, yeah, iPhones are pretty much leaders in videography, but this much of a difference? I just don't know. And the main reason for this is that the X80 Pro is underperforming. If we freeze the frame right when the second video starts, I think both you and I will have a better understanding of what's going on. Take a look at the grass, the trees, and also the details on my face. This is just not good enough from Vivo, and they definitely need to tweak some settings in their video software to increase the quality of their footage, or at least bring it up to the level of their photos. 8K won't be a saving grace, as the overall look of 4K will give this category's point to the iPhone as we move into zoom territory. Vivo's gotta pull something off here, as they have a 2x and a 5x optical zoom compared to just the 3x on the iPhone. Not to mention, iPhones aren't the best zoom phones, but looking at the photos, it's easy to see that the quality is rapidly degrading the more you zoom in on both of these devices. The only saving grace of the Vivo X80 Pro is that it at least manages to retain the original colors of most of the things, while I'm kinda grayed out on the iPhone. At the highest levels, there really isn't anything to compare, so Vivo will barely take the point with a slightly better performance. Well, what can I say? That was one of the weirdest zoom comparisons I've had to do in quite a while, so all I can hope is that the stabilization is gonna be better. Video quality aside, they're both good enough for low movement videos, as is often the case. Apple especially excels in this because that is their main focus, rather than just an activatable stabilization mode that they don't include in their phones. Maybe in the 14. We'll have to wait and see. For now, Vivo is going to be getting another point because even though I've seen better performances from quite a few other phones, their footage is still more stable while there's a lot of movement involved. I'm sure we won't be seeing the stability that I just talked about in the front camera video of the X80 because it is what it is. Unless you're a huge brand or an expensive flagship, your front camera isn't going to be particularly impressive. The photos are fine, but just as I said, the video is not. The iPhone is kinda dark, but that's just not going to take too much away from them, as dynamic range is all over the place on the X80 Pro, and I'm not too fond of the details that have vanished into thin air. You often see influencers using iPhones for their front cameras, and in my opinion, this is a good reason why. Speaking of reason, there's a lot of it for Chinese brands to start upping the quality of their macro software, as I believe Google will also be joining this boat with the release of the Pixel 7. For now, it's just not on the same level. Is it usable though? I mean, yeah, of course, it's quite good, but you can always just get closer and more immersion from the iPhone. Not to mention, it's a lot easier to use this mode on the side of Apple since the software is better optimized, which means you don't have the phone randomly switching back and forth between the lenses because it can't grasp what exactly the phone is looking at. Fortunately for Vivo, it's the opposite of this if we look at autofocus, and it's pretty much on the same level of Apple. You can see how they snap onto the ball right when it comes into the frame and how the background stabilizes when you remove it. Speed is overall equal, so this section will be split between the two. So, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, I'm getting some major airtime, getting ready to shoot some hoops. Well, not really, because I'm more of a football guy if you still haven't understood that from this video. 240 FPS is all good and well, but that's the maximum of the iPhone, as the X80 Pro will surpass this with 480 FPS, which is much more useful for catching movements of animals like cats and birds. No visible issues with the quality either, so the point going to the way of Vivo is all fine by me.
What is up, guys? It's a very hot day and we're out here in Berlin again doing some footage. And you know what time it is? It's the audio test of the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And over here we have the new Vivo X80 Pro.
Normally, I'm not a huge fan of the mic quality of the iPhone 13 Pro Max, but god, the Vivo X80's Pro sound is really muffled and this just isn't doing them any favors. It's not like the noise cancelling is amazing either, so that's a red flag for me that the audio quality is this dull. The iPhone will take the audio section, which leaves us with some fun in the dark, the night category. Vivo has just knocked down the gates and charged in while Apple is just looking around trying to figure out what's going on because wow, what is this high quality performance from the X80 Pro? Okay, I don't expect much from Apple at night because they've never really put in the effort, but Vivo has obviously done their homework. It's also funny because they both have similar white balance values, and I'm sure you all know how often I talked about the yellow tint present in the iPhone photos at night. It's obviously better tuned on the side of Vivo though, especially in ultra-wide photos, where it's even easier to see the loss of detail and general dark ambiance of the iPhone 13 Pro Max's handiwork. There's just no competition here, and hats off to Vivo for being able to optimize their software in just such a way that they were able to give us great visuals when the lights are all turned off. All in all, the iPhone 13 Pro Max took 6 points, while the Vivo X80 Pro took 5 points, with the photo and autofocus categories ending in a tie. I really want to see Vivo put some more effort into their videography capabilities of their phone, and that's when they'll be very hard to stop. Like this video and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this comparison, and you better believe that we'll be back with more. Until next time.